I had to look at my peers like Sol de Janeiro championing Brazil, Thatcher championing Japan, and that was my aha moment to be like, and what about Fable Mane championing India?
A very warm welcome to the Global Indian Creators podcast. We are so glad to have you with us. If you are enjoying our podcast so far, we would love for you to leave us a rating and a comment, as we'd love to hear your thoughts and reach more listeners like you.
In this episode, we spotlight a creative force in the hair and wellness space, entrepreneur Akash Mehta. As the co-founder and CEO of Fable Mane, Akash has blended the ancient wisdom of Ayurveda with modern haircare, creating a brand rooted in Indian heritage and powered by plant-based ingredients. Before launching Fable Mane, Akash held digital leadership roles at Burberry, Estee Lauder Companies and Dior. His work earned him a spot on the Forbes 30 Under 30 list in media and marketing. Together with his sister Nikita Kanani, Akash launched the first Ayurvedic sibling-founded brand at Sephora. Their campaigns have featured Bollywood icon Kareena Kapoor, and their own mother has graced a Sephora store poster. In this conversation, Akash shares how he leveraged the power of social media to build a global brand.
So Akash, I want to start right from the beginning. Tell me about what you're doing now and where you see yourself going compared to where you expected yourself going, which could be two completely different things.
Yeah, I'll try to synthesize it in a nutshell, but born and raised in London, in a South Asian household, a lot of people can, I guess, relate, especially born and raised in the Western world, wherever you were, that it was sort of like a culture shock, right? You're born in a society that's predominantly portraying a lot of things that are not in our culture, and we are trying to emulate it a bit. So unfortunately, growing up, I would say I was suppressing a lot of my South Asian culture to, I guess, relate to my cohorts in school and university. But nonetheless, I was fully surrounded at home in these incredible kind of cultural ways of life, right? It could start from our hair oiling experiences with my nanny, to the home cooked meals we were having, to going to beautiful like weddings and inbound events that were celebrating our kind of traditional outfits. I definitely had this bit of like dilemma, right? And then it kind of hit to me. It was actually when I was after university, I started seeing a shift in the world where we were being celebrated by our culture. People were not bullying us for our culture, but in fact empowering it. And it was, bullying it. When I grew up, I was around people. The only time I got bullied growing up was because of something to do with my culture, right? It could have been like curry boy or corner shop or this and that. Or I would speak in my normal accent and they would reply to me in an Indian accent. And I would be like, what is happening, right? And now I really was thinking in every industry, it's about us taking back our lead, championing our narrative and being celebrated for it. So for me, born and raised, I was an engineer, but I started my career in the beauty industry, and I 100% did not see anyone like me. I was the only person of color in these big boardrooms for some of the biggest brands, from Dior in the head office in Paris to Estee Lauder. I would look at even not only from the company side, right, but also from the marketing side. There was never a South Asian face in any billboards in the beauty campaigns. And then I thought to myself, all right, I think I just got to create the brand that challenges the norms, but not only challenges, but inspires. Because I don't want to go in these boardroom meetings and go to HR and complain about our diversity or why is our culture not celebrated. I thought, let's instead build a brand that will make them want to, in these meetings, champion it and say, why not? It's look how successful Fable Mane is. We should be doing it. And I kid you not, I've had conversations even today with some big brands, and they're looking at South Asian faces now. And that was never a thing for some of these big giants. I can't say the names, right? But they're doing it. And they're coming to me saying, who's the biggest? You guys are paving the way. So, to bring it back a bit, we pitched our brand, which was incepting from our own childhood, right? Fable Mane comes from when our nanny used to massage those oils, like I said, in the childhood memories, while reading us stories. So story in hair, Fable and Mane. And it's not only a journey of championing our heritage, but also for me to go back to my own roots as I lost touch to them. And now I can safely say I'm not ashamed by my culture because of other people's projections. I've always loved it, but I've always was nervous by it because of other people's opinions. And it still exists, hate I go to Downing Street, every single comment on my Instagram is something about brown and curry and go back to your country and smelly and all this stuff, which, I don't even look at anymore because there'll always be hate, but there's also a lot of love now. And I'm really appreciative of that. And it starts from our own culture and our own community, right? So we became the first ever South Asian brand at Sephora, the first ever Ayurvedic brand at Sephora, which is a major retailer in the industry. And I think we've paved the way for many more. When I started, Sephora told us there was not one South Asian or Ayurvedic brand pitching. Now, 4 years later, there's hundreds every week, and they're all mentioning Fable Mane as like one of the catalysts for why they wanted to launch their brand. And the funniest thing is Sephora told us, don't worry at the beginning. They were like, don't worry, you'll be the one of the only ones. You won't have more. And I said, absolutely not. I don't care about competition. I won't care about collaboration. I want many more. So please don't think that's what I want. I want many more Ayurvedic brands to launch and celebrate what we're doing. Fable Mane's whole reason is to celebrate our culture, build our community, but make it connected to everyone, not just our own culture.
And what you said was particularly important about championing your heritage. You've worked for Burberry, Dior, and many of the top brands. Who would you say influenced you or are your role models?
I'll be honest, in the industry, there weren't many because not many were like us or looking like me. The only one that influenced me from my very birth is my dad. He's in the beauty industry for 40 years, in an industry that he's an engineer, just like myself. And we both went into the beauty industry. Both were like unicorns in the industry. My dad was in all these French big boardrooms. He's a partner with LVMH and Mr. Arnault and all this stuff. And only person of color, really, you can think in this thing. And when he did it 40 years ago, times were even tougher. That's been my biggest beacon of light is my father. And he's taught me everything I know today. But at the same time, in terms of creating a Sephora-led or indie brand, championing our culture, that's something my dad didn't do. He was doing more business trade and I was more brand building. I had to look at my peers like Sol de Janeiro championing Brazil, Tatcha championing Japan. And that was my aha moment to be like, and what about Fable and Mane championing India?
And what you do is very much a creative outlet. You are very creative and you do that very well and very successfully. And because you are doing something that's different, a lot of people relate to you. What made you have that inclination to do something different?
I think I've always just been quite creative, but also been very entrepreneurial and business and numbers. So I've always had to marry both. So, in some angle, some days I would say I'm a creative, and other days I would say I'm a analytical financier, I think I live on the beautiful spectrum of both. But as someone who I think is very culturally in tune, I think it also stems from our birthplace. When I look at India, it's full of culture, full of vibrancy, full of creativity. It's everything we've done. We've invented so many things that people don't even know we invented, like chess or shampoo. So, and it all came with a creative edge, not just for a purpose of business or something. So I think it's in our DNA, really, all of us.
And having gone on what some may see as a unconventional journey, what would you say has been your biggest challenge and how have you overcome that?
I think it's being, young in certain roles where I didn't understand why age was an issue. Because for me, experience is not linear. It's not age dependent. It can be, people could learn something in 1 year more than someone in 10 years. It doesn't matter. It's really the quality of the experience and the learning. So I think age has been a big battle for me. And I think also I'll be honest, in certain rooms, being in the fashion and beauty industry, it's the color of my skin and my culture and stuff that often has a predisposition of like there's barriers or there's a wall. And I have experienced racism at work and office environments, but I never am affected by it because I see it as an opportunity to inspire and show love and maybe make the place better for the next person coming into my path. So I've never really been affected by it. So it hasn't been an issue for me. It's just been something maybe sadly I've always expected from a childhood. I've experienced it. But it's something I'm hopeful for, that I think it's all about spreading love as opposed to reprimanding and having hatred towards that person. But that has been, I think, age and slight racism has probably been the biggest barriers for me to enter certain rooms or to be chosen for certain things. And those are unfortunately things I can't control, but it doesn't stop me from keep on going down another door. I keep on moving forward and I just will make my own door if I have to.
On the opposite end of challenges, what would you say have been the most favorite moments of your journey so far?
I think at the same time, there's been so many people that have championed me and have helped me so much on my journey. I wouldn't be where I am if it wasn't for certain people. I can, say that like have been pivotal. So that I think it's not necessarily the successes that I care about. Like, there are quantitative things that have been great, like achieving awards or getting recognized on lists, and the list, and it goes on. For me, it's not that. It's those memories I've shared with my mentors on the journey and seeing how proud they are of me and how they've helped me, and then how I've also replicated that.
Yeah.
Those have been the memories, like those dinners where I told my mentors, "Oh my God, look what just happened."
Yeah.
And not many people say that, right?
Yeah.
But ultimately, those are the experiences, because making a list is a very solo, lonely thing that doesn't fill in anything into your heart. It just feels ego. But sharing those experiences with the person that helped you, or the community around you, or your family that loves you, about those about those list making, or about those quantitative things, that is what's really special, I think. Blur what it was, it just becomes that dinner, right? It doesn't matter what it was. And I think that's the beautiful part is everyone can experience that, no matter what the success is.
Yes, and it's a sibling journey which you are on. Tell us more about that and how that's been.
It's been the best journey, not also the easiest, let's be honest. I'm not going to be everything as unicorns and rainbows, but I think with a sibling is hard, especially in the sense of like, we're both very creative, we're both very similar mindsets. So it's been tough, but I think with every step we take back, we take always two steps forward, and it's built our relationship to be a stronger one. So ultimately, no better joy than doing it with your family and your loved one. I will say, if anything, South Asian culture has taught us, we always tend to do things in family, but it doesn't always work out. So one of my biggest learnings and advice is it doesn't have to last forever. And I want to make sure with this, it's like a beautiful chapter in our lives, but not our story. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I'm going to work and live with my sister for the rest of my life. But I think it's important to mention that, because I think the issues I've seen with a lot of families that have done business together, when it lasts too long and there's too much money involved and stuff, it can cause friction and conflict. And I think you have to be pragmatic and also have timestamps to when you do things with anyone, because I think it's very critical to protect the most sacred part of it, which is your relationship as siblings or loved ones or whatever. The business is finite, but the relationship with them is infinite, right?
And you're both incredible advocates for championing one community. And secondly, I've observed that you champion others. You spoke about people mentoring you, but one thing I've learned from you is the way you wholeheartedly champion other people. And I think that's a really impressive quality, both as a brand, but also as people, because people see you, your community, and your team that you've built together as a brand, and getting to share that journey together is just incredible. And just following on from that, you've been on the Forbes 30/30 list, you've won numerous awards, and you are continuing to fly. What advice would you have for emerging creatives who are looking for that courage? What would be your advice?
So I have a couple of answers to that. I think my first advice is not to take advice. It's really important. People will be very quick to give you what they think is right. Always be mindful of what is an advice and what is perhaps best for you. So I never give advice. I always share my experiences and my stories. And then I let them listen to that. And then they'll use their gut to decide what they really feel, because your gut is the most truth thing in you. And I think when you have successes, if I listened to everyone's advice, I wouldn't be where I was, because most people's advice are even limiting to what their projection of you is. That's my number one. So even what I'm saying now is going to be what I would say has helped me, has been firstly going on my gut and listening to myself and putting my own barriers, not letting people put my own barriers or boundaries. Number two, surround myself with always good people more than better people. Like not the best, but good. What I mean by that is not the best in the industry that can help you get there, but people that are really good-hearted, that you can rely on, that are trustworthy and that are safe. And then the rest was secondary, like how helpful they are. So you're right community. And then three, be patient. Don't rush and try to sift what's ego and what's true passion. And make sure you have passion to drive you to a clearer path, not money or things that are just very fickle. All of those things have helped me get to where I am. So I don't really think I've done a path that's tried to think about how to get on Forbes or how to get an award or how to build a $100 million company. That's just all being byproducts from doing that. And if you're good at it, you have a good idea and you work hard and you're smart, you'll get all the other stuff, right? And yeah, you need to do stuff like apply and do that and that. I'm not saying it just comes to your doorstep, but you're not doing it caring about it. You're doing it as a byproduct of it.
Yes, and having a passion is something that really stands out. When Anila and I were first talking about this concept, global Indian creatives, we really wanted to profile those who are established and emerging. And it comes from that very sense of wanting a whole new generation, a whole new wave to enter the creative industry. And we thought the best way to do that is just to speak to everyone who has been on that journey and shares that purpose. And everyone we've spoken to so far has just wholeheartedly given us their thoughts with the view of wanting to really have new people share their talents and see that cycle of learning, which we think is incredibly important.
What an exciting insight into the power of the digital world. We really appreciate Akash Mehta's time and honest insights.
If you are enjoying listening as much as we enjoyed making this, please leave us a review on your podcast platform.
We couldn't wait to share this interview series with you and wanted to reach as many of you as possible. So while we've been working on something else with these interviews, we decided to launch this podcast first. That's why you'll only hear from one of us sometimes, but rest assured, both of us will be back in the next episode. Thank you to Akash Mehta and our guests on the Global Indian Creatives podcast who have shared their stories with us because they liked our purpose, which is to celebrate Indian creatives shaping Britain and beyond.
And a special thank you to the Queen's Commonwealth Trust for championing our aim of inspiring the next generation of talent.
Stay tuned for our next episode featuring legendary actor Kabir Bedi, whose cinematic journey has spanned continents and decades. Speaking to us from his study in the heart of Mumbai, Kabir Bedi shares candid reflections on both his professional and personal life in a warm and witty conversation.